Hey there, YouTube fans. How you going, man? All right. You saw the title. Some people cannot be helped. I'd like to say some people can't be saved. By the way, I'm using my MKE 600 shotgun mic, Sennheiser. I love it. Off camera. I was just listening to a song, and it's a lot more harsh than... The title is a lot more harsh than Stuff You. Let's put it, it starts with the F, right? F-U. And it's, for me, it's actually very, very therapeutic. And I'll go into explaining why. There are some people that just cannot be helped. That's one thing I learned over the years, right? And some people don't want to be saved. Some people don't want to be assisted. They don't want to learn. They want to continue down the same path the rest of their lives. And then some people can learn, and it takes them, maybe a long time sometimes, or maybe a short period of time. But sometimes, yes, they can learn. I don't know if I think people actually change. They don't change kind of who they are, but they could change their behaviors, right? I think everybody could do that. Sometimes you cannot be their friend, right? You might think, oh, I should be their friend nonetheless. Sometimes the cost is way too hard on yourself to be their friend. Or even if it's your family member or your wife or your husband or ex-wife or ex-husband, I meant to say. Sometimes the cost is way too high. I think it's important to mention that, to realize that you don't always have to give people your time and your friendship and your love and your energy. Some people need to be left alone to their own devices. And that's actually biblical, right? For example, even the good Lord himself said, don't cast pearls before swine. Sometimes people don't want to hear good advice. In that case, it was, of course, the gospel. But I think it applies also to everyday life, is that people don't want to hear good advice. They think they're right, and they don't want to take on board any kind of constructive criticism, let's say. Sometimes, as I said, you need to say, and I really would like to use a more harsh word than this, but you really need to say, as we Australians would say, stuff you, okay? Maybe not directly to their face, but in your mind, say, stuff you, let them to their own devices, leave them alone, right? I think sometimes it will help your own mental health to leave people to their own devices. Now, maybe one day they will change, but don't hold your breath. You may need to act as though they will not change, and that is a possibility. It is a possibility that they will. With enough education, time, self-reflection, and openness, they may change, and then they may come back into your life and apologize, and you open the door, but be cautious again. Like, don't they say, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, right? So you need to be careful, because they could snake their way back into your life, but nothing actually changed. Their attitude didn't change, their whatever didn't change. They didn't change, right? There was a very interesting story. This reminds me, and probably my ex-wife is watching this. We discussed that we had a neighbor once that lived downstairs, and they used to smoke really strong cigars, and it would come up when we would go out, or even when we're there, and it would permeate our whole apartment. It would just flow up, go through the whole thing. And so it was a woman doing that. And then her partner was actually really nice, but the woman herself was very, very selfish. And so we tried the nice route. We tried going down, asking them politely, nicely, can you please Maybe close your windows when you do that because it's coming up. And it doesn't matter what we did, it didn't stop. It didn't stop. And then unfortunately, we resulted to starting throwing water off the balcony because it would then go into their property underneath, and throwing rubbish down underneath, which was, tit for tat. That we made a mistake doing that, and I can be honest about owning up to that. That's not the best way to do it. It's not best to retaliate when somebody's doing that. We ended up going to the Housing Commission and then made a complaint, but that didn't change anything. The complaint didn't have any teeth whatsoever. They didn't do anything, which is really bad because in a property, you can't let obnoxious smells go to your neighbor. That's not right. I think after a while, because there was so much drama between us, I think they tried eventually to compromise, but initially it was very, very stressful and we didn't handle it very well. And I guess what's my point about that? Try not to retaliate. Try and do things the legal way, the correct way. I mean, that's something I would, encourage the older I get. But at the time, we didn't see any other way to do it. But initially, that person basically said to my face, "I don't care. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to do it." Right to my face. And this is my point, is that some people will not change. They will not adapt. They're very, very selfish. They're very, I think that's the main word. I've done many jobs and I was a social worker, and I said to my team leader, I said, I just realized what the whole problem is here in child protection and youth work and everything else. When there are problems, the problem stems from selfishness. The person is selfish. For example, if a woman wasn't looking after her kids or a man wasn't looking after their kids, the bottom line is they're selfish, right? For their own selfish reasons, they weren't doing that. All right, I hope that helps. What do you think? Am I on to something here? Sometimes you have to say, as we Australians would say, stuff you, get them out of your life. Block them if you have to. Say, look, I don't think it's right that we should see each other anymore or talk to each other anymore because it's just too painful for me. And I think there's nothing wrong with that to maintain your own sanity and mental health. Same thing, I guess. And I can't speak English because I'm in Italy and I speak Italian every day, and I'm speaking to Russians as well, and I sometimes speak Sicilian. So I got 4 languages in my head. All right. I hope that helps today. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Teacher Sal out. God bless. Ciao. Ciao, ciao.